Good morning everyone. Today I have to discuss about the topic accommodation in pupillary reflex, and so we will discuss first accommodation. What is accommodation? Accommodation is a process acquired by the eyeball and mainly by the lens of eye to focus on the near vision. Generally our eyeball have this situation in which ciliary muscles are there, and there is suspensory ligament. It is known as suspensory ligament by which lens is placed in our eyeball. These are ciliary muscles. So, in general view, the lens is always stretched by the suspensory ligaments and by ciliary muscles. And when the light rays come across these lens, and these are just focused at retina. But for near vision, what we have to do? For near vision, we have to concentrate all these rays to one point. And for these concentration, what we require? We require more power. And for the more power, what we have to do? The diameter of the lens have to be increased. And it is increased by one thing, like the ciliary body get contraction. The ciliary muscle contracts. When ciliary muscle contracts, it is treated in our eye like it is a circular muscle. When it contracts, then the diameter, then when it contracts, the suspensory ligaments become relaxed, and when these are relaxed, the lens is also relaxed, and by which the anterior surface of lens becomes more curved. And when due to the more curvature of anterior surface, the light rays which are coming from a near object like this, they will get more deflection and come to the point where we need. Come to the point of retina from by which we can our eye will perceive the stimuli. Correct? And then we are able to focus on near objects. So in accommodation, three things take place. First, anterior posterior diameter of lens is increased, by which there will be convergence. There will be convergence of the rays coming from near object, and these will come at the point of retina by which we can see that object. Where? Then there will be meiosis of pupil, and also there will be convergence. Like it is done by medial rectus muscle. Like when we see an object nearby this, then our eyeballs come together to each other. When they come near to each other, it is known as convergence, and this occurs by the medial rectus muscle. So this is a simple form of accommodation. Clear? Now there can be some problems at the age, like some people having age 40 years, and they usually speak like that. We can't see near objects, we can't read newspaper. It is just because of the disease, which is physiological disease, which comes at the age of 40, and it is known as presbyopia. So as I have told you, at the age of 40 there will be a disease. It is physiological disease. It is known as presbyopia. Presbyopia means lack of accommodation, and when there is lack of accommodation, the person will not able to see the near objects, as I have told you. So what is the treatment of presbyopia? Please, we have to give what we can do. We just have to increase the power of lens of that affected person. What can we do? We just can give convex lens. Convex lens will help our natural lens to focus the light rays to the retina. Clear? And what kind of spectacle the person will have? Spectacle to that person, it depends on the nature of that eye. That either the eye is emmetropic, means before the age of 40, the person will not have any eye pathology. Like he was able to see everything, he was have clear far vision, he was have clear near vision. But at the age of 40 now, he is not able to see the near. object. That time we give only convex lens having spectacle. But I can say unifeatured lens. But in case a person having pathology like he was having myopia, he was having hypermetropia, in that cases we have to give spectacles having dual nature of lenses. It is generally bifocal type. Glass will have like this, and it will have another glass here. Which one? One is for near vision. The rest of the glass will be for the pathology that he had, either it was myopic or hypermetropic. That's it for presbyopia and accommodation. Now we have to discuss about the pupillary reflex. What is pupillary reflex? See, it can be like as you have seen somewhere when somebody have light is imparted on the eye, then the pupil is constricted. It is pupillary reflex. When the pupil and the iris is constricted, the size of the pore, which is known as pupil, is decreased, is known as pupillary reflex. It can be dilated, it can be constricted, but when light imparts, it is decreased. It becomes in mutic stage. Now, why does it occur? See, there is one point that I also want to discuss. See, if I cover my face like this, okay, and when a light comes across this side, and generally what will happen? This pupil should constrict, and this should remain as it was. Like it was in mid-dilated position, and it should present like this. But whenever light is imparted in this eye, it constricts and it also gets constricted. Why this happens? To understand this, we have to go for the synaptic connections of pupil. So let's see that the diagram. This is our eyeball. This is retina. This is temporal retina. This is nasal retina. Clear? From nasal retina, these fibers goes through optic nerve, then they goes through optic tract, and before going, some fibers goes to lateral geniculate body, and some fiber come across to the crosses before going to the lateral geniculate body to the area which is known as pretractal area. From pretractal area, two type of fibers arises. These fibers are known as internuncial fibers. What we call internuncial fibers, and these fibers are just around cerebral aqueduct, and these ipsilateral fiber cross through posterior commissure, and these are and they go this area which is known as Edinger-Westphal nuclei. Edinger-Westphal nuclei, which is very, very important DH tissue. From here, these fibers which are carrying the impulse from Edinger-Westphal nucleus are the fibers of third nerve, which is generally known as oculomotor nerve. And this is ciliary ganglion, and from ciliary ganglion there is short ciliary nerve which supplies to our sphincter pupillae, the muscle of iris. Clear? Now, see here, if light is imparted here, okay, then what will happen? The impulse will go through optic nerve, optic tract, and then pretractal area. But here is the golden point, that there are two fibers which go to ipsilateral side and to the contralateral side too. When these fibers cross here, then you can see this stimuli will create here meiosis, and these fibers will also create meiosis to contralateral light. So when the light is imparted to this eye, then there will be meiosis. This meiosis is known as direct light reflex. But in contralateral eye, there is also meiosis which is known as consensual light reflex. Let me write it. This is direct light consensual light reflex. This is for ipsilateral eye where we have imparted the light, and this is for consensual where we didn't have imparted the light, but it occurs due to the relationship, due to the pathways which I have described you, and it occurs in contralateral eye. So it is the main reason when we impart light to one eye, this will get miotic, but the other will get meiosis. Why it occurs? It occurs due to this reflex arc. Got it? So now we have to discuss about the lesions or dysfunctions of pupillary reflex. These are two types. One is for afferent and one is for efferent. Afferent means what? See here. Afferent means when the defect is in the second nerve. Clear? And efferent means when the defect is in third nerve. Clear? Then these are two types of pathology, or I can say defects of lesion. And among these two types of defects, first we will discuss about absolute afferent papillary dysfunction. Clear? So this is general condition of our eye. In this situation, eyes are normal, eyes is normal, and these are mid-dilated, which is usual, which are present usually. So I assume that there is pathology in right eye. There is lesion in right eye. Okay. So first of all, this is the left eye. When I impart light on left eye, okay, like this. When we impart light on left eye. When I impart light on left eye, the pupil constricts. Why it constricts? Because the afferent path is normal. When it is normal, then both eyes will work and both eyes will have meiosis in both eyes. Then this situation is known as isochoria. Isochoria means both pupil size are normal and equal, and they are behaving equal. Clear? And the second condition, when I impart light on the right eye, but as we can see on the right eye, the function is lost. The afferent pathway will not have clear function. Clear means I am saying absolute. Absolute means there is total damage of the tract or there is total damage of optic tract, and if there is lesion in optic tract, then the person will not perceive the light effects. And if it is not able to perceive the light, then there will be no pupillary reflex in both the eyes. Then here also the condition will remain isochoric. Where the size of both the pupil remains same, mid-dilated, there will be no constriction. This is known as absolute afferent pupillary dysfunction. Clear? So now the second pathology or second defect of afferent pupillary reflex, or it is known as refractory afferent pupillary dysfunction. Why it occurs? Refractory means somewhere after a time there will be fatigue in optic nerve. First of all, we have to go for the site where it occurs. It occurs at retina, optic nerve, these areas. If these are affected due to any pathology, then there can be refractory afferent pupillary dysfunction. Causes, there can be, if the retina is detached, then retinal detachment, optic neuritis, or CRA or CRV. Now, what happened? See here, it is a normal condition of the eyes when the eyes are mid-dilated. Normally, eyes are mid-dilated. When I impart light to the left eye, then this pupil will get constricted, and also the right will also constricted. As I am assuming that there is lesion in right eye. I am assuming, so I am saying that when the light is imparted to the left eye, then the pupillary reflex, which I have described to you earlier, by which the right eye will also get constriction. But what will happen when the light is imparted to the right eye? See, if I impart light to the right, see, there is conduction, there can be conduction, but due to neuritis or retinal detachment, the conduction is lower. So when I will impart light on this side, the conduction will occur. Due to this conduction, there will be meiosis, and here will also be meiosis. Both eye will get meiosis. But when this light comes again to the left side, the left side will have stimulation of heavy lights, and due to lights it will get constricted. This eye will also get constriction. When we do this again and again, then what will happen? After a time, this right eye will get fatigued, and due to that fatigue, when the light from the normal eye comes at this side, then there will be stimulation will start in this left eye, that will be of dilatation. Then eye will become dilated. And when we take this torch to this affected eye, right eye, then the light, there should be stimuli for meiosis. But as we know, there is fatigue, the nerve is not able to conduct the stimuli. Then here is dilatation occurring, and this dilatation will also occur even there is presence of light. This kind of dilatation is known as paradoxical dilatation, and this kind of pupil is known as, it is very famous pupil, we call it as Marcus Gun pupil. Now the third pathology is very, very important. It is regarding efferent pathway, which is of third nerve. So in efferent pathway, this is very important, Argyll-Robertson pupil. What happens? Generally, this is right eye, this is left eye. Generally, the general condition in which both eyes are mid-dilated. Okay. First of all, we have to discuss about where it occurs, why this happens. This happens due to we have to know what the site. Site is this area. I am pointing. This is cerebral aqueduct, and the area here is posterior commission. If this area is affected, then efferent pathway is also affected. And when there will be lesion at this point, this occurs in some disease which are known as neurosyphilis, Tabes dorsalis, and lot of diseases are there, like one also known as chaotic regurgitation. This area is usually affected. When this area is affected, then we can say, see here, if I impart either light to this area, either light to this area, both any eye, if the light is imparted to these eyes, light will travel to the afferent pathway because there is not any kind of pathology or disease in the afferent pathway, but there is pathology in efferent pathway. Then both eyes will not react on light. Either I will impart light on the left side or on the right side, there will be no change in size of pupil. So here I can say light reflects absent, but near reflex is present. What is near reflex? As I have told you earlier, near reflex is mediated by medial rectus muscle. Like if I have to see near object, then my eyes will come together near to each other. When they will come, medial rectus will work, and by the work of medial rectus, there is a pathway, and this is near reflex pathway, by which the iris will get constriction. Clear? The near reflex is present and light reflex is absent. This condition is usually found in Argyll-Robertson pupil. It's very important. Now the second efferent pathology is tonic pupil, Addy's pupil. What site of lesion? Ciliary ganglion and short ciliary nerve. lot of cause like I can say orbital trauma. Which leads to injury to ciliary ganglion and short ciliary nerves. And now we have to discuss the topic like why we call it as tonic pupil. See, if the short ciliary nerve or ciliary ganglion will have a lesion, then it means that the afferent pathway is normal. So, if afferent pathway is normal, but efferent pathway will have defect, then when efferent pathway will have defect, then there will be no constriction by sphincter pupillae. Then, if there is no constriction by sphincter pupillae, then the radial muscles of iris will work more, and due to that, if I consider right eye have any pathology, then the right eye will have mydriasis. There will be mydriasis. Now, and left eye will be normal. This is known as anisocoria. Anisocoria. When the size of pupil is different in both the eyes, then this is known as anisocoria. Now I impart light to left eye. When I impart light to the left eye, then the pathway will work. The light will go from retina to the optic nerve to optic tract, then preretinal area, then adjacent restful nuclei, then to both of the eyes. But then the light and then the left eye, normal eye, will have constriction. But the right eye will not have any constriction because the nerve which is supplying to the sphincter pupillae will have lesion, and due to which there will be no constriction. The eye will remain dilated. Now, if I impart light to right eye, which is pathological eye, then light will travel as I described to the pathway. It will go to adjacent restful nucleus, and from there the reflex will come to the third oculomotor nerve. From there it will go to short ciliary nerve. But the working short ciliary nerve is in left eye, and in the right eye it is not working due to the lesion. When it is not working, the eye will still remain dilated, and it will constrict. So this eye is resistant to light. When it is resistant to light, it means there is permanent dilatation, which is known as tonic pupil. It is known as what? Tonic pupil. So that is about all visual pupillary reflex and accommodation reflex. Thank you.